flatten the back side of this little China berry slab on the joiner. Now I'm getting ready to flatten the top with the RAS. Wanted to give you a close-up look at the bit that I'm using. This multi-tooth bit works really well with the RAS for flattening. Board's looking pretty good. It's 15/16 of an inch thick all the way across, good and flat. The tool marks in there will come out easily. I'll probably hit it one pass over the joiner just to smooth out tiny ridges the slab flattening bit leaves. I had to make an extra pass on it because being in regular shape, when I was trying to hold it with my board, it was kicking it up a little bit, not letting it sit good and flat. With a larger board, I would just hold it with my hand and it would not have that issue. Or if it was square on the ends, holding it with a board probably would have done the job. But overall it looks pretty good. Now I just got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Well, one thing I wanted to mention, I started off taking passes that were too wide, passes full width of the bit, and that's just me being goofy because it's been a while since I flattened one over here and I just wasn't thinking, but it's best to take half a bit width at a time. So when I was moving it over, I should be lining the cut mark up with the center of the shaft each time and not trying to go the full width. Only taking half a bit width at a time keeps the bit from kicking the board around so much. The direction of rotation is clockwise, so if I'm only cutting with half the bit and I'm working from left to right, the bit will be pulling the board toward the fence. But when I try to take a full width, the other side is wanting to kick the board out. So yeah, half a bit width at a time is best practice. I had bought this bit for this purpose, but for some reason the way it's configured with the two flutes that go all the way across, it's really bad about binding in the RAS. There's no give in the saw. You know, the motor head, the arm, it won't move. The least little high spot or a weird bit of grain will cause this thing to dig in, and it's pretty dang scary using it actually. When that thing digs in, it causes massive amounts of tear out, and it really jars the whole saw, and I just, in my opinion, it's not safe to use on this. And now this configuration may work perfectly fine with a router and a router sled. I don't know, I haven't tried it. After the bad experiences I had with it on the RS, I don't want to use it anymore, not for slab flattening anyway, which that's what it's supposed to be, but I don't feel comfortable with it at all. This bit, so far I haven't had any kind of binding with it, whether I'm taking small shaves or deep cuts, doesn't seem to matter. When I was having the binding issues, I thought maybe I was going too deep with this bit, but I pulled it back to where I was just barely taking anything, and it was still finding ways to bind. Only good thing about it is the shaft is shorter than this one, so it gives me more height. Over here on the RS, I could do a little bit thicker slabs with it. Right now I got the saw jacked up as high as it'll go. I can get a slab that's about 1 3/8 thick underneath it. You might be able to squeak in 1 7/16, but it definitely will not go up to 1.5 inches. And I've got the bit as far into the chuck as it'll go, and there's still over 1 inch of shaft sticking out. I could cut nearly 1 inch off of this and make it much more useful. When I say cut, I would have to do it with a grinder, being hardened steel. You know, you can't cut it with a saw, but the grinder will grind it away. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that in case anyone's thinking about using this style bit on the RAS. I'd say don't do it. Go for one with multiple cutter heads. I know there are several different styles. This is the only one I've tested. It works great, but I'm guessing that anyone with multiple cutters without the 2 flutes that come all the way across will probably be less likely to bind. Biggest problem I have with dust collection is remembering which blast case to open and close. The whole time I was doing this, I had an extra blast gate open. The one going to my joiner was wide open, along with the 2 on the RAS, so I was losing a lot of suction. I think probably would have picked up a good bit of this dust if I had just closed that blast gate. I know there's an electronic solution for that, but that's way out of my budget, not something I would even consider. Just got to learn not to be so absent-minded, if that's even possible.